There is greatness, and there is what BC's women's lacrosse team did on Sunday.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. Thank you all for joining us. Today's show, we're going to talk lacrosse. What a weekend. What a game for the BC women's lacrosse team, who are national champions. We're going to talk a lot about this because this was a historic moment in Boston College sports. We'll explain why, what happened, and why this was such a special moment for the Eagles. We're going to also look at that antitrust lawsuit that was passed by the NCAA, and we're going to talk about this in the lens of how it impacts Boston College. You're not going to want to hear you're not going to want to hear it. You're going to want to hear my thoughts on that in the final segment of today's show. But the biggest story of the day, women's lacrosse. The women's lacrosse team came from a 6-goal deficit to win against Northwestern, the best team in the country, 14-13, and earn their second national championship under Acacia Walker-Weinstein. They are now one of the best programs in the country. They are an official blue chip program. BC, going into this game, had 7 national title appearances in a row. They won 1. Remember, they beat Syracuse, who cannot beat BC in lacrosse at any form. But the knock against the program was that, yeah, they make it to the title and they were just losing. They win 1 and then they lost 5 other ones. You started this game off on Sunday against Northwestern, the best team in the country. They were number 1 for a reason. They had plowed through every team on their schedule, and including BC, who they beat 14-11 earlier this season. They had the Wildcats had all the momentum on paper going into this game. They go out and they're hitting shots. They're up 6-0, and BC, I think, hit like 2 posts in a row. They look completely disjointed. Everything looked like it was going to be a repeat of last year's title game where BC played Northwestern, and Northwestern won 18-6 in a game that was never close. So at the end of the first quarter, the Wildcats are up 6-0. You got Wildcat fans making jokes online. I saw Roger Sherman, who's a great writer, but Northwestern graduate, using memes about it and everything. It felt like if you were just a casual observer, like this game was going to get out of hand fast. And if it wasn't any other team other than Boston College, that would be exactly what you would be right to think that. But that's the difference between Boston College and other schools, is that this team is tough. This team is gritty. This team is resilient. And not only did they fall behind, but they battled back for the next 3 quarters, and they kicked Northwestern's butt for those 3 quarters. Yes, the game was only 14-12 at the end, and ended up being 14-13 to win it. But you look at what happened in the box score. BC, second quarter, outscores Northwestern 6-2. BC, third quarter, outscores Northwestern 3-2. Fourth quarter, BC outscores Northwestern 5-3. And who was the spark plug in all of that? Kayla Martello. Kayla Martello, who came to BC as a true freshman. She was not a transfer portal player. She was not, you've got girls like Rachel Clark out there who came from Florida. You got a couple others that are transfers. Kayla Martello has been the lifeblood of this program. And she this year scored, I'm trying to pull up her stats right now, 76 points, including 68 goals. You talk about Charlotte North's performance when they won a couple years ago in 2021. But Kayla Martello in this game was more important because if I remember correctly, and I don't have the score in front of me from the Syracuse game, but I believe BC was pretty much in charge for most of that game. Martello scored, I think it was like 4 goals in a row at one point to put BC back up. And that her play in this game was absolutely crucial. Her play was one of the best performance in not only BC women's lacrosse history, but I'm gonna go out there and say BC history. It gave BC the lead when it was a game that it just looked like they weren't gonna win. And you're watching this game near the end, and you're starting to feel like, okay, Northwestern could come back here. But there were two other players that need to also be recognized for their play, and they were crazy good. And that is Shea Dolce, the goalie. Holy moly, did she make some big saves. You don't see a ton of saves. Like, it's not like hockey where hockey players get like 35 saves. And you're like, oh, yeah. Jacob Fowler had a big game. He had 35 saves. Women's lacrosse is a little different than that. She had her game in this, and she was named the best goalie in this tournament for a reason. She had a big save down the stretch to save it. And then the play of the game was McKenna Davis. McKenna Davis did this twisty, like behind the back goal, something I've never seen before. And that's what I love watching about sports like this, where I don't know a ton. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, like, I'm not an X's and O's lacrosse guy. I just watch it and I enjoy it. That goal was awesome. And that put BC at 14-12. That was a Sports Center top 10 moment right there. And it was the end of the game. Now, Northwestern scored to make it 14-13, and Northwestern had the ball with what was like 10 seconds left with a chance to tie it. And they, BC jammed him up enough so that they got rid of the ball and the time ran out. And that was it. National championship right there. What a moment. Now, in a moment, I'm going to continue talking about this and talk about why BC women's lacrosse has become the premier program at Boston College. 1A and 1B with another one. We'll explain what that means in just a moment. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Are you watching that Celtics and Pacers series? Are you thinking the Celtics are going to take it all? Then get on FanDuel. You can get odds for them to win it all right now. Or if you think that maybe the Timberwolves or Mavericks are going to win it all, go on to FanDuel. Boom, it's all right there. That's what I love about FanDuel. You think it's already there. I mean, they've got odds for anything you can think of. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. This is Locked On Boston College, AJ Black here. With their second national title, it's now time to talk about how important BC women's lacrosse is to the overall athletics picture at Boston College. And there's a few things that you need to mention when you talk about this program. First of all, Acacia Walker-Weinstein, the head coach, is incredible. You have the best women's lacrosse coach here who not only has their team ready to play every time, but she has her team with the determination to win any game. And that sounds corny, but they don't wilt. They just never do. I mean, you're down 6-0 and you come back and win the way that they just did. That tells you coaching got that team to where they need to be. She recruits at a high level. I mean, she brought in Rachel Clark and she brought in Emma Lapinto, 2 huge transfers last year. She also, in this whole program, has brought Boston College on the national stage at a sport that is growing at an exponential rate. Women's lacrosse is an important sport right now. I'll just give you a quick story. When I took my kids last year to the 2023 spring game, Jeff Halfley's last one, there was a women's lacrosse game. I want to say it was a big game after that, maybe against Notre Dame, right after the spring game. It was a couple hours after. And I went to the Fan Fest. I took my kids to get their face painted. It was a great time, right? I would say at that event, it was like 60-40 football gear versus lacrosse gear on kids. There were a ton of kids walking around with Bell Smith jerseys, with Charlotte North jerseys, with just BC women's lacrosse jerseys. It was a big deal. It's a sport that a lot of girls are playing. A lot of boys play it too, and that's not the point of this conversation. And for kids, and for anyone who follows, whether it's kids that are playing in high school, people just like lacrosse, BC is the beaming beacon of what excellence looks like. And that puts BC on a pedestal that's going to make them the premier program. I keep saying this for this sport, a sport that gets people at there. I mean, you watch those games at Newton or Alumni Stadium or wherever they're playing, and there is a lot of people in those stands. They pack wherever they play because they play well. The girls are all incredible at what they do. They have a very smart coach. It brings out the best. And this is so important for a school like Boston College, where you have a football team that's been mired in mediocrity for 15 years. You have a men's basketball team that has been mired in mediocrity for 15 years. You have a baseball team that's been you get it. You know what I mean? A lot of sports have done that. So now you look at BC and you have two programs now, men's hockey, women's lacrosse, that are nationally recognized. They are to their sports what Alabama and Georgia is to football, or Duke and UNC are to basketball. They're getting to forget getting there. Hockey's there. I mean, there have been, national title wins. They're right up there. Women's lacrosse has joined that conversation. Whenever someone brings up women's lacrosse in college, they're going to talk about Boston College. When they talk about, let's go watch a game, they're going to talk about women's lacrosse. I'm telling you, I have a small child at home who loves, she's only 3. She knows about Boston College because, she lives in my house, right? I want her to see what women can do on the field. Women's lacrosse is going to be the first thing I take her to, because she's going to see that. And I'm going to be excited because they're a fun team to watch. This team is incredible. They work their butts off. They play at an elite level. This is what college athletics is all about. And I know this is a big week for BC football with official visit season, but I'm not going a whole episode without giving the women's lacrosse team the kudos they deserve. You had 5 players on this team named to the all-tournament team. McKenna Davis, Shea Dolce, Rachel Clark, Emma Lapinto, and Kayla Martello, all named to the NCAA all-tournament team. They did it again. I can't even explain how awesome this is for BC fans. And if you're not a lacrosse person, if you're listening to this going, AJ, why are you talking about this? Open your eyes, folks. This is special. This team of women put Boston College out in a national forum. Like, people all know about this. For some people that may have, are not aware, lacrosse is such a big sport right now, and BC has the elite team now, and they're only going to get better from here, folks. As high school kids watch this, think about the seniors in high school right now. They've seen BC in their 4 years in high school win 2 national titles, 2021 and this year. They're going to want to come here. So the best of the best, the cream of the crops, are going to want to come to Boston College. When you see Charlotte North announcing these games, and holding camps. I know I think she held a camp at BC recently-ish or in the last year. When you have them doing that, that is an easy way to recruit. So this team is not going away. You got to hope that the staff is being paid well enough, and I think they are, to keep them around. But what a moment. After watching hockey make the national title game, win the Hockey East, I thought, okay, that's going to be the moment of the year for BC sports. Nope, not even close. This game against Northwestern was the best game Boston College sports in the last 5 years. This was incredible. Congratulations to all those women. I hope you're listening to today's episode. In our final segment, I'm going to wrap things up. I want to talk about that antitrust lawsuit. I want to get into what it means for BC, and we'll kind of look at some of the primer of what some of the rulings have been and what it means for the Eagles. We'll get into all that in just a moment. Locked on Boston College, AJ Black here. Wrapping things up here, and we're talking about this antitrust lawsuit that was resolved over the last week, which basically is going to pay student athletes from the school. They're getting a cut now of the revenue that schools are getting in most of the revenue sports. So Chris Hummer of 247, the site I work for, he did a primer that answers a lot of the questions. I want to read you a few things and tell you how it would relate to BC. So how much will they get paid? They're going to get to split around $20 million in distributed revenue for football. How much that's going to mean for each player, we don't know. We don't know how it's going to be broken up. Like if it's a team like Clemson from like 5 years ago, right? Would Trevor Lawrence get more than like the backup punter? We don't know. But it's going to be a $20 million revenue. It's basically a salary cap that this lawsuit's going to put in. So no matter how much money they make in TV revenue and all that stuff, it's a $20 million cap. Will there still be NIL? Yes. Will collectives still exist? Yes. So here's how that's going to probably work out. You're getting $20 million. You have 85 players on your football team. And we're not sure if that's going to include basketball too. If that includes basketball, that definitely is going to include the collectives too. You're going to pay your players, right? The $20 million, you'll split it up however many ways. The collectives then will probably cover the difference, right? You're going to have players like Arch Manning, or for BC, Donovan Azaraku or Zay Flowers, who, they have all been taken care of, I'm sure, by NIL collectives. So if there's a flat rate and you have players that need more to stay at your school, the collectives will cover the difference. Okay. So that cap will be kind of flexible so that they can use collectives to kind of figure that out. The transfer portal, that's going to be the interesting thing here, because we've seen the transfer portal like change everything, right? Like schools like Texas, Colorado, Wisconsin this year, Miami, they use the transfer portal basically as free agency. But now schools through NIL will be able to, or this salary will be able to sign players for multi-year deals. It sounds like this is what the impression Chris Hummer gets. So the portal might become less of a factor, because if you have players signed to a 3-year deal and they're paying X amount of money, they can't just leave and, they signed a contract. They can't just leave. It's like the pros. So they may have buyout clauses, but the dollars could keep schools from having a mass exodus in the transfer portal. And for those folks out there that have been tired of seeing your entire team just leave, and it really hasn't happened at BC, this could be a way to prevent that from happening. Another factor that could happen is the size of rosters. So right now, roster sizes are at 85, but with this system, they could actually increase the amount of roster size and that could go up to 90. It could go up to a whole bunch of different things. But that could be another thing that comes out of this, is that schools now can bring in, recruiting classes of 25 every single year. So there are factors that I don't see BC ever doing that. Any way that they can have to spend more money, I don't see BC doing that piece. But it's a factor to think of. It could impact BC if they're going for a certain level of recruits, which is what BC usually does. And Penn State is now taking recruiting classes of 100, not having roster sizes of 100 or whatever. They could be losing out to these other schools who are just stockpiling recruits because they can. So that's going to be something that's interesting to watch. And there's a whole other bunch of factors that go into this too, right? They're talking about walk-ons. Will walk-ons still be a part of these rosters? Will schools be able to pay those walk-ons too? We don't know any of that. So that was just a quick little interlude. Now on tomorrow's show, I'm going to go back to football, because on Friday, the first group of official visitors are coming on. I'll explain who we know is coming, what the situation is, everything you want to know. And in between all of that, we'll have more stuff that's going on with Boston College sports. Thank you all for following me. Follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button before you leave. Tell your friends about Locked On BC, the only daily Boston College podcast out there. We have done almost 900 episodes. I think we haven't hit 900 yet, but we're getting close. And if you want your Boston College news, we're the place to get it. We'll crossover. We'll be talking about a lot. We're basically in off-season mode now, as baseball and softball are done. But there's still recruiting news. There's a lot to get into, and you can only find it here on Locked On Boston College, your team every day.